Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Two Dads podcast episode. I'm Simply,
I'm Cheese.
and this is the Two Dads podcast. Yeah, live on Twitch TV. Cheese, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good. I'm a little sweaty. You know, as you're aware, and probably those in chat. We just had an incredibly close match at the Invitationals for the D1 bronze match. It was down to the frame, so we had to redo a match. But we're here now, and it's dad time. It's podcast time.
So I had
would you like?
I just realized I had the playlist still playing, even though I muted it. But all right, we're good now. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yes, hit me with it. I know what you're gonna ask me, and I want it. Give it to me. Give me the news.
Okay. All right. Jeez, calm down. Wow. All right. Well, you know, it's been hot. It continues to be hot, and I think it will keep continuing to be hot. Super Mario Odyssey is popping. Equanimity.
Equanimity.
10 days ago, got the world record with a time of 1 hour 38 seconds, and I think that might be his first world record. It's been very heated. In fact, first place in Super Mario Odyssey is 1 hour 38 seconds. Chaos Pringle, second place, is 1 hour 39 seconds, and third place is Acrid with 1 hour and 40 seconds. So literally 3 seconds apart on the top three. It's insane. What are your thoughts?
I mean, since the beginning of time or beginning of Odyssey's existence, it's been like this. It's always back and forth. It's always tight. And again, I talked about it before, Odyssey being such a consistent speed game. I think it's like max 4 seconds of RNG in the entire run. It's a really good speed game and solid. And all of the players are really, really good. They all happen to be just extremely consistent. So like, there's a constant battle going on. It's great.
Yeah, it's heated up.
And another quick point. Acrid, who is third place, is also from Spain. So just imagine two Spanish people having world records in the two best 3D Mario games. It's going to happen, dude. I can't wait. Spanish is taking over.
Spain with the takeover. A little bit scary. You know, soon. It's coming soon. Well, other than that, we've also got NOP, of course, chopping down that 100% world record, sitting at a pretty 435.30 right now, appears to be the case. Kind of in his own layer there, but, you know, continuing to bring it down. Pretty impressive stuff. And you can't be talking about Super Mario Odyssey without bringing up Super Mario 64, the man himself, Tago, with the 47:35.01. According to this post, 2 to 3 frames off of the world record held by you, Cheese. What are you thinking about Tago?
I can't wait until he gets it. Dude, well, first of all, losing a world record is always motivating for obvious reasons. But apart from that,
sure,
Tago's never had a world record. And it would be the first time since Punky first got world records in 70 and 120 that someone other than me or Punky will have the 70 or 120 star world record. Zaya did have the 70 star world record for a very short time, and then I got it. But it's been since then. So having someone else, a brand new person with a brand new world record, I can't wait till it happens, and he deserves it.
Sportsmanship, you know, leaking heavily.
But I can't wait until I come back and beat it again. So.
Right. No, it's a friendly competition. Just having fun out here, pushing that time down. Awesome stuff. Well, I guess we've got one more thing, and then we'll move on to the main, you know,
attraction.
The main course. Celeste. TGH continues to drop that time even lower. 1 day ago, 28:40 in Celeste. Crazy time. The new, I don't know what it is. Is it a new strat, new trick, new?
Well, Celeste has thousands of strats, and there are always new strats in abundance. Every week there's something new, so I can't even keep up at this point. But apart from that, I think it's just consistency. Like, the game is still growing. It's not even a year old, so it's gonna be growing and growing for a while.
Okay. Dope. Also should note, Masushi 14 days ago, 28.57, and Nero third place 24 days ago with a 29.15. It seems like they're sort of in their own realm there. Nero, Masushi, and Nero and and TGH. Sorry, you got Flatter V 29.31 sitting right outside. Oddbod, bye-bye, all with 29s, and I'm sure they're working that down. But TGH continuing to lead the charge. Good stuff from him. And yeah, that's about it from me, Cheese. If you could go ahead and, take me home.
Okay,
that'd be nice.
I'll try. But all right. So today we have an interesting fella. He is a creator of another speedrun podcast, his own podcast called My Insane Pace. You guys need to go and check it out on myinsanepace.com. Simply's got the link in chat. It's a really good one. I've listened to most episodes. I've actually been there twice. And GSA has been there. Speed Gaming's been there. Sinister One, all the big names. It's basically everything you can get in speedrunning. Simply's been there. It's true. I think it's the most recent episode has been Simply, actually. So,
also the hottest episode.
Yeah. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the man himself behind My Insane Pace, ALTInsider. Welcome.
How's it going, my friends? Thanks for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be very excited. Always a big listener of the two dads. I'm actually a dad too, so I think I should, I have a good place in this podcast. Three dads, yeah.
Exciting stuff. Well, how are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
It's Thursday morning for me over here in Japan. So yeah, doing good.
Oh, damn,
kids
son.
Went to school, chilling time.
We got a Japan.
How long have you been in Japan?
10 years now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I came here like, let me just do a year of getting, having fun in Asia, and then it kept going and going. Then you met a nice lady, and then I got married to her, and then we had kids, and blah blah blah. 10 years later, it goes fast.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, well, 2 fake dads and 1 real dad.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, sounds about right. So I want to start. We usually get into the history before we dive deep into our topics or questions we want to ask. How did you get into this world of speedrunning, my man? What brought you here?
For me, it was back when Twitch was just started. When Twitch started, I was hype on Twitch. Like, even when it was little, I was like, wow, this is something cool. I want to watch this. And I watch it all the time. And I heard about Classic Games Done Quick and turned it on. But for me, it was too much. I didn't know what was going on. Kind of like it wasn't that big a deal. And then when the next GDQ happened, for some reason, I had heard of it enough for some reason. And then it clicked to me, and I watched, I don't know, 3 days straight. And I never stopped watching since then. And I can't just dive into the world of speedrunning. Now, for me, it's different than a lot of people. I never even thought about doing it myself. I was just content with watching other people do it, like as a viewer. And that's how I come from the side of a speedrunning fan of a pure viewer side of things. And I think I wish there should be more people like me, because there's I wish there'd be more people that could be in speedrunning if more people enjoyed it for the viewing aspect. If you can't do it, because it takes a lot of time and dedication to be a real speedrunner, right? But
it does.
There's a lot to enjoy by just watching too, and that's what I do.
Not only watching, making a podcast or being
true,
involved in something, it's content creation in general. You can do so much with it.
Yeah. So it's just I wish there was more that side of things. That's why my big push is trying to push that side of it, right? Like as a GSA and Speed Gaming is doing good stuff with that, making it more. You don't have to be a player to enjoy it, right? And that's what that's my big kind of push right now for speedrunning, is kind of push the side of making it better for the lay person, because then there'll be more people to watch the GSA races, to watch the speed gaming races. GDQ have that magic that they don't need any help to get 100,000 people to watch whatever they put on that screen. But if you want to keep those races that are always going on hyper, we need more people that aren't. I said hyper, that's not a word. We got those races to be more hype. We need more people that aren't runners to enjoy them too, right?
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah, and that's kind of the phase we're in right now. Figuring out how we can reach the masses with content that isn't, GDQ. But you were going to say something, Cheese. Go ahead, get in there.
Yeah. So ultimately, how did you start the whole podcast thing, or what I guess made you want to decide, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. This is what I want to, or or have you been doing podcasts since long before running, or what is the history?
Yeah, so I actually have a website about how to work in Japan, and I started that 4 years ago now, and it got to be pretty. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it got to be I could make money from that. I have sponsorships on there, so I got to learn the my chops, what podcasting is, how to do it, and I was like, you know what, speedrunning is my main thing outside of work stuff. So I was like, why don't I try to do that? And also, I learned that if you want to talk to people in whatever field you like, if you have a podcast, you can say, hey, I want to talk to you, and it's not weird, right?
Right.
If I just messaged Simply one day and I didn't have a podcast, say, hey, Simply, want to chat for a while? You'd be like, okay.
Only if you give me bits.
yeah, exactly. If a podcast though, it's normal, right? So then, I also had this dream of something I've talked about in a past podcast called I wanted a live event that was purely races, right? That was I always had that idea. I'm not saying it's unique at all, but I wanted to see it happen, right? And I was saying, if I'm ever going to be a part of that, I got to have my foot in the speedrunning door. And this just all those things kind of combined to, I can talk to people in the community. I can, probably learn more about the community, and also I can get my foot in the door. And that's all those things came together. Said, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to start a podcast and do it. And just it's once you start it though, you got to keep it going, right? So it's got to be a weekly thing. I knew it's a big commitment, but so far I've been keeping it rolling. So, but yeah.
Yeah, you're approaching. I mean, you must have just passed a year, because I was the 52nd episode. So you've been doing it once a week for a year.
Yeah, and there's a few episodes that don't count. I don't count those. 52 are the interviews, and I have a few extra ones. Yeah, so we're getting to about episode 60 or something, actually.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Oh yeah, you can cuss,
stuff,
right?
man. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fuck. Yeah, so it's hard, man. That's actually impressive. You're able to consistently keep it going every week. Cheese and I have had we've been on mostly, but it can be hard sometimes, scheduling guests, or sometimes you get some schedule conflicts when you got two boys trying to get it going, living on the opposite side of the universe.
Oh yeah.
But it happens. We got you, the most beautiful dad of them all. It's an honor.
Thank you. I gotta give shout outs real quick. Darbian was the first person in the speedrunning world that answered my email, and I will never forget his answering my email and being on my show. He was the first person, so thank you, Darbian. Shout outs to you, my friend.
Shout out to Darbian. Super nice.
Have you had him on your podcast?
He was episode number 1.
Oh wow.
Or yeah.
Okay. That's great. Well, great, dude. I mean, we have a pretty solid introduction. If you guys are ready to dive into the seriousness,
let's jump.
Yeah,
I've got my suit on. Yep.
Sick. Okay, cool. So today we're gonna actually touch on about 3 broad topics that can be. Well, we could spend quite a bit of time on each of them, but of course, we have about an hour or so. So let's just dive into it and see how it goes. So I guess first thing to mention or talk about in general, well, GDQ. I know you know a lot about GDQ. I know you study a lot on GDQ. You know about all the past GDQs. You've watched all of them. You see a lot in social media too. I guess you could say issues that arise that involve GDQ tend to make the speedrunning community go in a little bit of an uproar.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, where I'm getting at is that speedrunning seems to be too centralized around GDQ. What is your opinion on this? How do you think we could fix that? And do you think it's a problem at all?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So is it a problem is the first thing we gotta tackle, right? So it is. I think it's only a problem because they are so set in their ways, as they should be, right? They're not interested in being this overarching, hey, we're the speedrunning gods, right? We're the speedrunning association that takes care of everything.
Right.
They don't want to be that, but right now they're kind of treated like that, right?
Yeah.
If there's anything they do, it's analyzed by everything and analyzed by everyone, insane amounts, right? And it's like they're treated like the people that have to keep the standard of speedrunning, but really that's not what their goal is to do, right? They just want to have their 2 events and that's it, right? So how could is there any fighting that though, right? That's the question, right? What is it going to take to make someone seem bigger than GDQ to have a place in the community? I don't know if that's possible right now because GDQ is the only thing that consistently brings massive amounts of attention to, for their events, right?
Yeah.
I mean, massive amounts. GSA and speedrunning, speed gaming have awesome attendance and stuff, but it's not the massive levels of 100,000 people to watch someone race let me think of the worst game I can think of, Terminator 2 on the Game Boy, you know, at 3 a.m., right? That's the only place in the Twitch that you can do that and have 100,000 people watching you.
Right.
So really,
Right.
it's a question of do we fight that, or we try to build other things up to be close to that level, right? And that's I think that's the only way it's going to happen is if GSA keeps growing to make it be a main thing as well. Then we'll have then it won't be GDQ is the thing on high that doesn't control everything, but it has the feeling of controlling everything because everyone believes they do, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not GDQ's fault, and it's not the community's fault to see it that way. It's just, yeah, you can't help it, and it's the circumstance. And I agree that I think the only way to, I guess you could say, solve the issue is for somebody to stand up, or an organization to stand up and just work hard to try to build a base alongside GDQ, and or potentially work together, because speedrunning is a community that it's only better for people or orgs to work together instead of against each other.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's interesting because there's like, it definitely feels like there's a slot now, and it didn't feel this way maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when speed gaming was just on the scene, GSA not even a thing yet. This idea of tournaments and taking speedrunning in a much more competitive direction. I mean, obviously, we've always had the leaderboards, we've always had people competing for records, but in terms of direct competition, no reset, putting more value on that is sort of a new thing that we're kind of seeing. And it feels a lot different than GDQ. Like, obviously, GDQ being big could exist with like GSA speed gaming growth, because they're kind of aimed at different people, I want to say. You might get more esports fans for like a GSA type thing, whereas you might get the more casual dad, chilling, or some guy that has a lot of free time that's looking for some smooth, streamlined entertainment from GDQ. But yeah, no, I don't really have anywhere I'm going with that. But that I feel like GSA or speed gaming, whoever it ends up being, or whoever's like taking on that action to try and make it bigger, it's definitely going to require a live event. I feel like that those seem to really build a lot of hype. It's just cool to see the people all in person, not only as an attendee or as a runner there, but just viewing it.
Totally agree that there's so many online things now that it's so hard to separate yourself, right? There's so many online marathons now. Every weekend there's a marathon. Yeah, I promise you. Check out the calendar. There's a speed gaming marathon called speed runs
really,
that
really
take
long
5
marathon.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, 5-minute speed runs marathon. It's like
I'm pretty sure speed gaming. I'm pretty sure speed gaming literally had a marathon for the past 2 weeks in a row, called a really, really long athon. That's what it was called. And it's just like, well, at that point, it doesn't matter what it's called. So yeah, I agree with that point. Like, there's so much online events or things going on in speedrunning that even if the online events or channels have a big audience, to get to the point where it's like a GDQ level or GDQ acceptance level in the community, is you need those live events, because that's at the end of the day is the difference between GDQ and everything else, is that they have these consistent live events. But yeah, I totally agree. I guess while we're on this topic, I actually saw something in your Discord, Alt, in the Minus and Pace Discord, which you guys should join, by the way. Hot speedrunning topics like all day long. I was having some civilized discourse, if you may, with one of the people in the Discord. We were talking about, I guess, sort of basically the rise of speedrun tournaments and organizations, and his point was the fact that he believes that, and I think a lot of people believe this too, that speedrunning tournaments and competition would never be able to get to a really big level, unless it's purely the randomizer style events. Because randomizers, his argument was that randomizers has that you never know who's going to win and what is going to happen, and it's a different outcome every time style, and that for speedrunning is the most prosperous style for competition, right? My argument was the opposite, was that I think that the simplicity of games like Mario 64 Celeste, where it is the same thing every time, but the races are always close, and it creates that competition in the sense of people want to follow their favorite runners, see if the reigning champion would remain the reigning champion, see who can be what upsets could happen, that kind of thing. I think that is the more prosperous thing for style for speedrun competitions. And then at the end of the day, we kind of both realized maybe both of them are good and they could work together.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Why can't we have both, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So what are you guys' opinion on this?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first here on this one. I think it's just, you answered the question perfectly at the end. Like, why can't we just have both? I mean, they both have their good and bad points. I think Randomizer, unlike what was talked about on the Discord, as I see now, I think Randomizer has a high burden of knowledge. My last podcast was all about the burden of knowledge. I think you got to be pretty into it to know what's going on with Randomizer. I mean,
exactly.
You can turn on that screen, and that screen, I promise you, for a layperson, looks insane, and they turn it off, right? Like,
yep.
What are these items? I have no idea what's going on. I'm gone. You know, maybe 5% might say, okay, I'll stick around until I get it. But you know, it's easier to watch someone play Mario 64 70 star, and you got to get all the stars. That's your goal, and that's it, right? I mean, I think there's room for both.
Right,
for
and
sure.
not only that, so that's your goal, but that's your goal. So the excitement is all around, damn, who's gonna win? Who's gonna miss the throw? Who's gonna be knocked out? You know, and that excitement, because that excitement is directly related to stuff like Smash tournaments. Smash is the same thing every time. It's 4 stocks. Whoever wins wins. It's very simple. It's a simplicity factor, but it's the excitement and the sudden feeling of who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. That competition is what I'm talking about. Can thrive, I believe, in speedrunning, and that doesn't exist yet. And that's why I think, because it hasn't existed yet, that's why I think Dark Aries was leaning to not agreeing with it or not thinking that it could work. But I'm saying, hey, it doesn't exist yet. Let's see if it does work. And so far, I could damn say it's been really exciting. It's been close races every day. It seems good so far, you know, but we'll see.
Take it, Simp.
We definitely will see. It's like, obviously there's matches where it's sort of a blowout and you're like, wow, okay, so this guy's gonna win. It's obvious. But I mean, that happens in Melee too. You know, sometimes somebody gets absolutely clapped and you're like, wow, this guy's getting clapped. But even getting clapped can be fun. Like, it can be fun to watch. I have to agree though, the burden of knowledge, and that's a really good way to put it, is I've come in on those streams and I've been like, what am I looking at? Like, I don't have time to figure out what's going on. I'm too busy, you know, big sim industries. We got a million moving parts. It's a lot to keep up with. I don't have time to learn about randomizers, but Super Mario 64, it's obvious. You can very easily tell who's in the lead most of the time. Yeah. So that's really where the heart of it is, I'd say, is it's a lot easier for somebody to pick up. But that's not to say that, I mean, obviously Randomizer right now is probably the biggest competitive thing. Like, you see Speed Gaming getting thousands of viewers for those matches. They've kind of developed their community. So I'm interested to see where it goes in the next year. In terms of GSA.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to note that Randomizer has been out for quite a while too. But anyway, another point was on the burden of knowledge thing. I think it could have affected the audience a little bit negatively because of that. The fact that most or every new person that comes in, like, people who even know about speedrunning, like me, I go around sit in Randomizer streams and I don't know what's going on. I can't understand. And, you know, I'm just like, well, I'm kind of turned off, you know. So you could imagine a new viewer that doesn't know about speedrunning yet coming in. It's like, what on earth am I looking at? Yes, it has a great audience, but my question is, will that audience plateau because of that burden? And it would just, might have a big audience, but it would just remain at a certain amount or certain level. But the simplicity factor is way more inviting for the new audience.
Yeah, I think without question. I mean, here's the thing though. Like, I think we both agree. Everyone agrees, and in the chat too. I'm looking at YouTube chat. MOBAs are the biggest esport in the world right now, right? I mean, there's no question. There's no fighting that, right? And that their burden of knowledge is so great. I think it's unbelievable how much you have to know to understand what's going on the screen. Like, I talked about it in my podcast a lot yesterday. I tried to watch some MOBAs to understand what's going on. Like, let me try, really learn. And I think I got it. And then, like, okay, I have no idea what he just did. And there's 100 characters to choose from all the different stuff. but still it's the most popular. So why is that, right? Why is it able to get over the hurdle of having the highest bird of knowledge in the world? The reason is it's a free game, and that player base dwarfs speedrunning so far. It's unbelievable, right? Like,
Yeah.
You have to play the game to understand it, and because it's free, so many people play it and they can get over that. Now, speedrunning, you can't do that, right? It's there is some hurdles to be able to be a speedrunner and to try a game out, right? If I want to do Mario 64,
sure.
I gotta get a Nintendo 64. I gotta get a cart, and I gotta if I want to put it on Twitch, I gotta get a Dazzle. Not what's it called? The what is it called?
Dazzle, yeah.
Dazzler or whatever, that kind of thing. That's not easy, right? That's all costs money, and and a lot of people aren't going to do that anytime you add money to it, right? So speedrunning can't increase its player base to make these randomizers popular enough to grow more. I think speedrunning, of course, is growing, but it's not growing like exponentially. The player base I'm talking about here, that it can just keep growing. There's so many players watching randomizer that we could go to the Staples Center and play a randomizer tournament. That's not going to happen, right? We have to have some things that are more accessible for the layperson, or do a better job of explaining what's going on in the broadcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I guess to close on that point, or one last point that I wanted to make, like Tharos said in chat, I don't enjoy randomizers, and I would agree. I don't personally enjoy randomizers. I enjoy watching those really close, consistent race games and seeing who's gonna win, and it's always close, like 50% of the time, it's a close race always going on at least once or twice a day on the channel. Yeah. And that to me is exciting. So that's why I'm saying, I guess, that I do believe that they could both work very well together. Because there's going to be the audience who prefers the casual style of randomizer and the slower pace but more knowledge-based kind of stuff. And then there's people who are going to enjoy the more fast-paced, exciting, close finish kind of thing. But to add to that too, there is bingo as well. And bingo adds that randomizer feel. Bingo is about the knowledge and the routing, and it's always a different result. It's always different players that win the tournaments. Totally different to the other categories. But yeah. That's
true. Yeah, I do have one more point as well before I close out, or if you guys also have more. You brought up a lot of good points, ALTInsider. Like MOBAs, I mean, they're so big. They started with their players. It's like, it wasn't like there was an esports scene and then, okay, now there's a bunch of players. It was just already super popular, if not one of the most popular games. And I'm just thinking of League of Legends right now. And it being free, super accessible, so everybody already knows the thing. And I guess if we want to make it more likely to be able to grow the scene for speedrunning, is commentary, I think, is a big part of that. And I also think that's a big part of why GDQs are so digestible, is that the commentary is usually dedicated to explaining what's going on so that you aren't left out of the loop. So yeah, I think commentators, especially if there's a larger audience watching, like if you're front paged or whatever it might be, you got to take that extra time. Although as much as you want to commentate the race and as much as you know about what's going on, taking that time to give slight insights about why a player is doing this or what that does for a player can make a big difference in how people are consuming it and understanding stuff.
Yeah, I want to say that too. I think now it's tough, right? Because GSA is so much is volunteer work, right? That's one thing in the future we got to work on too, is the commentating level, right? And how that is handled, because there is it's so tough, right? Everyone has to do volunteer work to do the commentating, and I mean, it's just, there's no money, right? You have to pay people, right? So it's how it has to be. But hopefully, I like, look, casters listening now. There is going to be some blowouts, right? But in those cases, I think it's really important to just still, you can enjoy someone playing the game for playing the game, right? It's not like, well, this is a blowout, so what are we going to do, right? There's still things to talk about during there's blowouts in all sports, right? NBA, every sport I can say, there's blowouts, and they still commentate the game in an entertaining way, right? It's not just, oh, this game is over, so what are we going to talk about now? It's wow, look at the play. You still talk about the individual plays in the race, and that's what needs to be focused on when it's a blowout. You know what I mean?
I guess that's why people call it shoutcasting. That's another good term for it, because it's not just commentary for what's going on, but it's the casting of entertaining the audience and the situation, being entertaining for what's going on, regardless of who's ahead or behind. And that's why I think the duo commentary is always it's the perfect mix, because there's that color commentary, and then there's the play-by-play commentary. So there's both, and it makes it exciting no matter what, even if it's like a blowout or not. And that's also something that was lacking in speedrunning for pretty much ever until now. So the more time of that being implemented, we'll see how the response is later.
Yeah, I think we're at the very beginning of possibly a very long period of time. I mean, we're just now, speedrunning's been around for like what, 20 years, 15 years, and it's super big. People love it. People love the world record history videos, the world record progression. People love the GDQs. But now we got this new thing coming out, and it's in its infancy stage. Right now, we are just babies. So I'm really curious to see, like I said, 2019, 2020. Maybe it doesn't see action until 2022. But I think it's definitely got potential.
Yeah. It's not going to be an instant thing, right? Yeah, it's not going to be this instant thing like, wow, GSA started, now GSA's huge. Nothing works like that, right? So let's give it some time too. We got to be patient too.
Give it that love.
Well, great. Well, we got another interesting topic. I guess we could diverge a bit if you guys are solid on that.
Yeah.
So, a little bit more on the political side, just a little bit. But a pretty interesting question nonetheless that ALT came up with, and I think it's something to dab on a bit. You may speedrun dab. Should a person's ideas be basis for removal from a leaderboard or event or whatever? Interesting question.
Oh God.
Again, should a person's ideas be basis for removal of it? So, in brackets, the Orami or Goose situation. So basically, people's ideas, I'm guessing you're talking about things that people say online, that post on Discords, wherever it may be, Reddit, people's ideas in general, beliefs. Should it be criticized to a point? Should it be condemned so that they are ostracized from the community or from events such as GDQ? What are you guys' opinions?
Big Sam, you go first here.
Man, this is a tough one. It's a really tough one because once you start removing people for ideas, I feel like it's a can of worms because where's the line? Like, where do you draw the line? You're like, oh, that's okay to talk about. Like, that's a little dicey. It's a little, crazy, but we'll keep them on the board. But okay, that's too much. That is when you get cut off. So that's my stance on it. Is I feel like when you start doing it, it just becomes too hard to regulate. I don't know if I really support the decision. I mean, obviously, you don't want somebody coming around being like Hitler on the leaderboard, but at the same time, like, when is a person no longer Hitler? That's my stance.
Hashtag when is a person no longer Hitler?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because like, I mean, shit, I don't think these people are going out killing millions of people, but that's I think there's a big distinction also between removal from a leaderboard and removal from like an event or something. So I guess we should touch on each one because they might have different opinions for each one. But I think guess, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just I agree too. The event and leaderboards are two different worlds.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me touch on leaderboards real quick because I think that's easier.
Yep.
It depends on what you think a leaderboard is, right? For me, I would like a leaderboard to be a list of facts. There's no opinions involved in a facts. The sun comes, the sun is this size, right? I wish I knew the size, but I don't. The sun is this big and the moon is this big. The fastest person to run Mario 64 is this person. That's what I want a leaderboard to be. Now, if I had a website that's called the schmalite.com, I can choose to have what I want on there, right? I can choose to I can choose to be different than that, but I hope there's some place where I can see that list of facts. I wish speedrun.com could be that place, but if it doesn't want to be, I guess someone else has to be that. But I want a leaderboard to be a list of facts, basically. That's what I think a leaderboard should be.
It comes down to that, yeah, because I guess seeing a person's name on a leaderboard, it doesn't say anything about who they are, about what they believe in, and the good thing is it doesn't have to. All it has to say is this person has this time, and I agree with that. I think if some person is very controversial, they say a lot of mean things or they're mean in general, at the end of the day, when it comes to leaderboards, I don't think it should be dealt with there. I don't think it should be taken off because it's about what they The leaderboard is for what time a person has, and that's it.
Well, Carl Job's in the house here, and he has a good. He said something I wanted to comment on. Well, cheaters have legit times too. Well, if you have cheaters in your leaderboard, then you obviously have a moderation problem, right? I mean, if you know, I think cheaters should not be on any leaderboard. That's not That's not a fact they earned if they got a top time, right? I mean, that's a little bit different story.
Cheaters is a different story. We were talking more about a person's ideas, so person's like opinions or beliefs on whatever it is, politically or whatever you wanted. And cheating is a whole different thing. I think we touched on cheating on one of our podcast episodes, but yeah, no, that's also a true point.
Yeah, so let's get to the bigger one. I think let's talk about the events. Now that is a little bit of a different animal, a can of worms there.
Yeah,
so Cheese, you take it first. What do you think about the event side of things?
Are you sure you want me to take it first? Okay, well,
I think you have the most ideas.
Well, I have a lot of experience because I recently dabbed into the recent drama. Dabbed. I love using the word because I know that simply deep inside wants to laugh every time.
He recently clapped into that.
I recently clapped into the drama of the goose getting banned or whatever, and it's very hard to talk about. It's very controversial without, well, it's impossible without somebody jumping down your neck. But getting banned from an event. Well, if the event is a corporate event, if the event is very large to the point where it's corporate, I think events that don't really have a choice but to implement a very PC kind of style or boundary, and sometimes they don't have a choice but to kind of like accept people's want to ban a certain person because they don't like their views or whatever. It's very, very complicated, and I think GDQ, for example, is in a really, really tough spot, not only for the corporate aspect, but because GDQ is it's because speedrunning is centralized around GDQ, which is what we talked about before. So GDQ is like it's what everyone is looking at when it comes to making decisions as well. It's not like if there's a different community where there are tons of big events and one event has some controversy going on, they're not really, they're not being looked at as hard as GDQ is, because GDQ is being looked at by everybody in speedrunning. So it's like it's even harder for them to make decisions on stuff like this, on controversial stuff. So, but I honestly don't really know. I can't think of my honest opinion on people getting bans and stuff from events, because I think it's situational, honestly.
I think it's if like unofficial speed run said, go check out his YouTube, by the way. It's if you're so tied to a charity, you have to put on the real soft kid gloves, right? Especially, you have to have that because you're so tied to a charity, right? I mean, that's just the boat they're on, the horse they're on, right? I mean, that's what they have to do. So I mean, as long as I think it's fine, as long as you have guidelines listed where people can read and say, okay, these are our rules. And of course, you can't say, well, there's rules about if you are a cannibal, you can't be here. If you don't like people from Mexico, you can't be here. That's you can't have those rules. But I'm saying, like, as long as they said something like we reserve the right to ban anyone from entry for their if they say that and the community is okay with that, the community in the end decides if it's okay or not, right? I mean, if everyone agrees that that's okay, then GDQS is doing the right thing, right? I guess I hope people will not pay, but like if they're doing the right thing, we'll still enjoy and watch the streams. If they're not doing the right thing, I hope they stand up and say something, right? I mean, that's in the end, GDQ is an organization that could do whatever it wants, and they have to be tied to a charity, so they got to be pretty strict about things.
Does GDQ have a rule system like that where it says we don't, we have the right to ban whoever we want or whatever? Do they have that?
I don't know.
Simp?
I don't know. I thought they did. I've always assumed that they've had that. I mean, they've got people walking around the venue that have, like, I've encountered it where they'll be like, all right, you're unable to come in this room for whatever reason it might be. And so
that's news to me. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, no, that happens at large at GDQ. Especially the bad situation is the most prominent and most annoying for sure. If you don't have your badge at all times 24/7, you cannot. They jump down your throat right away. You can't be here. You get your badge.
I mean, that's like a fair rule. Like
Yeah,
that one's pretty standard.
Oh
but...
yeah, the badge is cool. I thought you meant like what if someone's like, okay, he looks a little drunk, so he can't come in, or like his hair's out.
No,
of
that happens
thing.
too. That's
happens.
a thing. Yes,
that's
that
a
happens.
thing.
Okay. What other thing? Like his pants are too low or something? What's the line there?
I don't know what the line is. That's a good
His
question.
hair's too bleached. He's out of here, or something like that.
Yeah, god damn it, I'll be getting kicked out, man. If that's a problem.
Once it has to do with drugs and alcohol, it's very strict. Badges are strict. Apparel, not really. I would say cosplay is banned at GDQs. Cosplay, I know, is banned from GDQs since SGDQ 2016, I believe, is when they banned cosplay. Don't know why.
Wow, really? I didn't know that happened.
I'm about 90% sure that cosplay is banned from GDQ. I don't know the reasons, but
that's the next episode we got to talk about. Because why? I mean, okay.
I don't know.
Let's not derail, but why? That seems weird.
I'm not sure.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Okay. Harassment policy games and quick events has a 0 tolerance policy in regards to harassment of all kinds, including but not limited to unwanted physical attention, inappropriate physical touching, physical assault, battery, stalking, intimidation, bullying, bathroom policing, harassing, photography or recording. Okay, okay, the ending is interesting, but not limited to qualify. Oh, okay, but not limited to qualify as harassment, race, national origin or descent, gender identity or presentation, sexual orientation.
So there you go.
That's it right there.
Yeah, it looks like they cover everything. Like it's going to be in there somewhere. I guess they don't, but they say I guess harassment is falls under everything. If you think like what you saw, the goose stuff, and I guess that could fall under harassment. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. They have their thing.
Well,
there.
The important thing to note is that the goose situation was most of what he said, almost all of it was in his own private Discord, and they have the decision whether or not to be in the Discord. He didn't direct it to anybody. He just spouts his ideas, and in my opinion, people have no right to. I don't think they have a right to do what they did, to like call them out, even though there was no targeting in his comment. He didn't target it to anybody, and I think that's an important distinction. If there was targeted harassment to people in not his own Discord, if he goes out of his way to insult people, that's a whole different situation. And I think that is a good line, I guess, to establish, I guess, in banning somebody from an event. So back to the main question, I guess. I guess that's where I would personally draw the line. If it's targeted harassment, that is totally different to just spouting your ideas in your own private Discord. I think there's a huge difference.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I guess the line with that too is like, you don't know how serious people are being. Like, people troll all the time. People will say outrageous things to get a rise. And so it is a tough situation. But getting back to the whole point of like events and their right to do that, it's their event. It's GDQ. They're not like talking about facts, as you put it well, Alt, with you want a list of facts. It's not like you're going to GDQ for a list of facts or you're like, okay, so these are going to be the best players, because that's not the case. It's just fun for charity. And so I think it's perfectly fine. And since they've covered it in their thing, like the community obviously thinks it's fine. Somebody would have been like, this isn't right. You shouldn't be able to do that. But I think everybody unanimously is like, yeah, I mean, if somebody's harassing or like they say in their thing, then they should have that right to be like, okay, then we'll get them out.
So Steve just
Go ahead.
Okay. Steve just made a point in chat saying, how can you draw the line between indirect and direct, right? Well, I think this is why a lot of people have the point of view saying, where they say that they don't believe that people should look into Discord conversations or anything at all. And this is probably why they have that view, because it's hard to define or make a difference between indirect or direct harassment or whatever it is, or and I would agree with that as well. I don't think that there's that an event like GDQ has any place in digging deep into people's private conversations. But again, it wasn't GDQ who did it. It was brought to them, and then that's where the situation got complicated. But yeah.
I think one thing, just a PSA for 2018, if you're on Discord and you're doing private messages, they're not private. I mean, you see so many private messages that are just on Twitter now. Like they're just, be careful. I mean, not saying you guys have these crazy thoughts, but just be careful what you say, because pretend it's like imagine it might get public someday, because you never know. I mean, there's so many private messages now that are shared like nothing. So I mean, it's not a private Discord is not a very private place as you might think, you know.
Yeah. That's what makes it more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Elite makes a good point. Screenshots of Punkay talking to Paracusia.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people have that kind of relationship where they're just it's just like for fun. Like people are, you can't tell through text, but like they know that it's all love.
Yeah, it's all the context, dude. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the more you make fun of someone, the better friends you are, for me, you know?
Yeah.
The more you're allowed to make fun of somebody, or they allow you to, means that they trust you more as a person or a friend.
We got Punkay in the chat. You know, a little bit salty out here, maybe.
Well, that's a good point. Banter, like banter. That's basically what we're talking about. Is friendly banter, and that's what you know. That's how you could see that people are friends in the first place, or one way of doing it. But okay,
yeah,
we could move on.
Yeah, I think we covered the bases pretty well.
Yeah, how much time we got left? Actually, I think I'm trying to choose between our next topic here.
We got 20 minutes or so, because we started we've been going for about 45 minutes.
Okay, so can I choose the next topic if you don't mind, Cheese?
Of course, yeah, go ahead.
I'll throw it to you though. So I want to know. Okay, we started the episode with, you know, GDQ is the biggest thing. It's the kind of, it's centralized around GDQ. But let's say we're making a new event, right? Mm-hmm. I want to know what that would look like for you guys, right? Let's say we can make a new event. Money is an object, right? We can't just have infinite money, but within the realm of possibility, I want to hear what you guys would make for an event, right? What kind of event would that look like?
All right, Cheese, take it away.
All right. Well, I mean, there is going to be a little bit of bias towards GSA, because I work with GSA, but the reason why our eyes are set on having events like this in the first place, or this is why we have our eyes set having events like this. But my idea would be, well, to implement that simple style of competition into a live event. So similar to a fighting game tournament, for example, it's a live event with live tournaments or playoffs or a league or whatever it is that you have done at that live event in a simple race format, streamed live to the channel, and it's purely competitive, purely race format, and you know, there's an audience in the back watching, and what other stuff as well. So not only that, but having things like panels, because I know panels, GDQ started doing panels, and I think panels is a big thing. Panels and discussions and stuff like that, that could be recorded and put on YouTube. Stuff like booths where game devs could come and show off their new game that they're doing, indie games, and people could, speedrunners themselves can go and try out the games live there and give their opinions on those games, and they could potentially become the new speed games. You know, basically like what Celeste did. Celeste is an indie game that became one of the most popular because, you know, it was made for speedrunning, and that's a common theme too. Game devs make games for speedrun style, and you're having those people come at live events to show off their games, and it's a great way to keep that part of speedrunning going. That seems to me like a good live event. You know, it's different than the marathon charity style.
Yeah, I think. Did you want to go anymore?
No, you could go ahead.
Okay, I'm going now, right now. So here we go. No, I agree with all those. I think those are all good. Definitely want panels for the people that maybe aren't as interested in the current thing that's going on, whatever it might be in terms of like competitive nature. But at the end of the day, something that's still fun, like something, because GDQs are so much fun, despite, like in my personal experience, I spend maybe 1% of my time there in the stream room, and the rest of the time is like maybe playing at the arcade or hanging out in hotel rooms with friends, like just hanging out with people. So I feel like that aspect just comes by default. You just need the people there. You need the cool dudes. I liked what. Hold on, let me scroll up here. Virago brought up a great point. Simply commentating everything. That would be, that's
that would be funny.
No, we actually have some super good commentators.
That was another point I forgot to mention. Yeah, having the live shoutcast style commentary for the races. So instead of the common speedrun commentary that is just the person in the back explaining the game, it's to actually have that shoutcast where it's the entertainment commentary being implemented into the races that are being done live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more engaging content. Because, I mean, you said it perfectly. Like, if you already know everything about Super Mario 64, if you already know about everything about Super Metroid, if somebody's doing a run of it at GDQ, it's like, it's not that enticing. You're like, yeah, I've seen it, unless there's some new strat discovered or some crazy stuff going on. For the most part, in my opinion, and it seems to be other people's opinions too, you're not going to be that interested. But if it's a Super Mario 64 race, it's the finals. It's for $1,000 on the line. We got commentators hopping out of their seat, people watching. I feel like that's a more engaging environment, and would ultimately give people who go to events like that, I think, more to do. Because I see what happens at GDQ sometimes is somebody who goes there alone, or people that don't know like anything about anything, and maybe they're not the most social. Like, you kind of get stuck watching in the stream room,
or just walking around and following people, which happens a lot.
yeah, or doing that. So giving something, throwing a bone out there for
I would agree with that, especially like if you see it now, people that go to GDQ, actually people that go to GDQ are pretty much the exact same people that go every time, and then every GDQ would have like a few more extra new ones, right, that end up doing the following people, and eventually they'll gain friends and they will have a reason to come back. But the audience at GDQs is like the same audience that come all the time, and most of the time is spent at GDQs hanging out in everybody's rooms and partying and having a good time. So people would argue and say that they don't go to GDQs for GDQ, they go to GDQ to hang out with friends. And I think that's kind of an issue, in my opinion. If your event is a party attraction, instead of people wanting to go to actually watch what you are doing, what you're putting on, which is the marathon. And personally, I don't mean to put down GDQ at all, by the way. It's my observations. But when I go to GDQ, I spend maybe less than 1% of the time that I'm there at the actual stream room. I spend all of my time walking around talking to people and hanging out in hotel rooms and having a good time, or going outside and playing, what is it, crack ball, playing crack ball, basketball, whatever it is. So I think that might be an issue. So like Simply said, an engaging environment for people to actually go there and want to stick around for the main attraction and not want to just go there to hang out with friends.
Okay, so yeah, I think all those are good ideas. I think to make it really to rival GDQ, right? I think you can't just say here's our whole totally different thing and here's GDQ. We do things way differently, right? I think you gotta mix a little bit, right? So I think it's important to, of course, do races, but I think there should also be some, marathon, GDQ marathon-ish kind of time slots as well, right? So like maybe overnight you could do that, because
I agree. Yeah,
you want to make it be a 24-hour thing, because you want it to be easy for people to understand. Okay, this is a marathon. I can turn on anytime I can watch it, right? Because if it's like, oh, I turn it on, now it's off. What happened? It's not 24 hours. I thought speedrunning marathons were 24 hours, right? You gotta have people like that, right? So I think it's cool to marry those together. And of course, races will be the main thing, and you want the people. You want to make it so people want to be in that room. I agree. The death of the GDQ room is something that has happened over the years, and now it's horrible, right? I mean, when the rooms were smaller, of course, those were always filled. That was energy that you could feel through the screen. Yeah. Now you get this huge room, and there's 4,000 empty seats, except for the biggest of the big games, and the hype's not there, right? So I think that's important to, have some marathon-y stuff as well to fill those holes, right? Because you can't have races 24 hours a day. I don't think you need some kind of break. Also, I think I want, like you guys say, everyone I bring on my show says outside of the streaming room is awesome, right? Everyone says that. So I want to see that, right? Why hasn't the viewer been able to see that yet? So I want a camera that's walking around. Sometimes interview, what are you guys doing here? Oh, Cheese is over here practicing his game. How's it going, Cheese? I want interviews there too. I want to know I want to feel that like I'm there, right? Because most people can't be there. I don't want to see just the stream room camera the whole time. That's done, right?
You know what? This is actually probably a perfect way to spend their intermission periods. And I've seen multiple videos being made by Ricky and other people that are complaining about GDQ intermissions. They have 20-minute intermissions after every game where it's just showing the empty seats for 20 minutes. Like, what is that? Like, during the intermission, have somebody have a camera outside and they're going through the event. They're showing people their event. They're showing people the arcade room, talking around, and people asking them, hey, what are you enjoying the event so far? What are you looking forward to? That would be the perfect way to spend the intermission time. And it advertises their event to the people who are watching.
Yeah, and I mean GDQ can't do that probably because as you said, they worry so much about you got your badge, this guy's drunk, right? But GSA, whoever does this new marathon, could do it, right? And I hope you have a little bit looser rules about that stuff to do that, right?
Yeah.
Also, the thing I want to see is like some kind of aspect where people could there's no donations, right? Obviously, it's not for charity, but you want to give people a chance to give you money, right? So how can we do that? How can we give people a real legitimate chance, a reason to give us money? So you don't want to have, I think this kind of increase the prize pool thing. It's a good idea. However, I don't know if your guys' numbers can prove it differently. I don't know if it works so well yet, right? People aren't that hyped about it. So I want to see some races where the incentive is how you play the game, right? So for example, Mario 64, it starts out normal Mario 64, but if you donate enough, it goes to 70 star. If you donate enough, it goes to 120 star. If you donate enough, it goes to what's the one that doesn't have the cutscenes or whatever, right? If you donate enough, then you have to play with one hand or something stupid like that. Not that, but I want to see that kind of donation incentives, right? To make the game how do you play the game, right?
I like that.
Another thing I think would be cool is donating to who races, right? So of course not everyone's going to be there. You can't say if TGH is in Alaska and in your event in Florida, you can't just donate enough to have TGH be there. But I want here's the list of people that are at the event. Who do you want to see race this game? And that's the donation incentive. I think that'd be interesting too. It's I want to see Simply and Cheese play this game against each other. That'd be pretty hype, right? So I'll donate to get that happen, right? And of course the money goes to the people put it on the charity to help the charity happen, right? Also panels, like you said, I like panels too, but I want to see panels. I don't want to have it the panels happen in the back and then it happens until 6 months later. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I want to see that. I want to see the panels and I want to, I have a question for the guy too. I'm at home. Again, you can see I'm worried about the people at home because that's the most people, right? There's going to be more people watching, hopefully, than there is at the event. So I want to make them be taken there as much as you can, right? And that's my main thing, right? Because I know I've never been to a GDQ. I've been in Japan the whole time. I've watched a lot, and I know what I want now that I've watched so many. So yeah, that's my main things. And I think obviously the races, I want that to be the main thing too. I think that's the hypest thing. And like you said, I want Simply casting those races. I'll be the interviewer, of course, in between the stuff. But that's what I want to see. I think it'd be awesome.
I totally agree with all those points.
That's a lot of good ideas.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's do it, guys. Come on, let's make this happen.
You bankroll this.
All right, I got it. The bits are coming in next month, so we'll be getting it going.
Somebody's gonna make it happen. That's great. That was a good one. I like that.
Cool.
So, well, this I guess the last question. We kind of touched on it more or less, but I guess we could expand. How has speedrunning changed since speed gaming and GSA have become established? So I guess to expand on that question, how has speedrunning changed this year, considering speed gaming and GSA have really flourished this year and these kind of things are popping? And esports teams coming in 2018, So how has speedrunning changed, in you guys' opinion, since they have been established?
You want to take this one, Ald?
You got it.
All right. Okay, I got it. Obviously, it's taking more of a direction of tournaments and race style. Of course, records still have love. People grinding for records is still very much hype, if not more hype.
Those will never go
now
away.
You've got, records are always going to be hype. People going for records is always sick. But now there's this side attraction, whereas before races were kind of just for fun and they were rarely, at least in my experience, rarely finished. I mean, me and Punky and Cheese would race. We'd race all the time, but never end up finishing a race because there's not much incentive. So now people are starting to finish races. People are starting to do no resets. And I think it's actually really good, not only for a racing mentality, but also as a runner. Like in a race, you're realizing right away, wow, okay, maybe my PB is not as good as I think it is. Like, you take what you learn from a race and you're like, okay, I can be more lenient with my runs. But then there's also the other side of it where you have to flip the switch in your brain from PB to race, which might require also flipping your strats that you're doing. Like, maybe you go for really risky stuff. We've seen players that are seated very high, really good times, not perform so well in races. You know, the value of consistency is going way up in tournaments and races. We see people like Super Viper, people like Triforce really coming up in the game as top racers. Like, the mentality is so much, there's so much focus on it. So that's my thoughts. Alt, hit me with it.
Well, I think the main thing is there's always a race on Twitch for at some point somewhere, right? I mean, this is great. If like, I think people kind of forget that 5 years ago it wasn't like it is now, guys. There's so much stuff on Twitch for speedrunning and speedrun races, and it's just really insane how much stuff there is now on Twitch about speedrunning and how it is. And now, as I said many times in my podcast, Machinima tried to make a race event for money. How many years ago now? 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And that Reddit post is still sitting there where every single person said, this is a bad idea. Money will ruin speedrunning. That thought is a ghost now, right? That's gone, right? And I don't know if it's
not
because
quite,
Twitch,
but it's
yeah, that's true.
It's dimming.
There's some old boys there that don't like it. But there's, I don't know if it's Twitch, because speedrunners now can make a living speedrunning, right? I mean, that's something that wasn't true maybe 5 years ago as much as it is now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that may have a part of it too, but GSA and speed gaming making money be a thing that is okay to give, like every other athletic endeavor or sports endeavor. So I think that's the main thing for me, is how like now the path is open for speedrun to really grow, because I always thought that it has to have the competitive aspect to get bigger than it is now. The world record thing is awesome, and that's always gonna have its place. But the mainstream is not gonna care as much. It's harder to understand a 70-star world record as it is to this guy won a tournament. That's way easier. And I think it needed that to get there, to get to the place now where it can grow, because now this is how speedrunning, a big part of speedrunning now is racing, and it's okay, and it's okay to win money there. So that's the main thing for me, and I'm excited about it. I'm really happy that it's finally got to this point.
Same here, baby. Going global.
Great.
I love it.
I love you too, man.
So I mean, I totally agree with it. I mean, I love your ideas, Alt, because you have I guess opinions or point of views that are, because usually we always find people that have point of views that are either this or that in speedrunning. You seem to have all the views that are the middle ground, that are in between, that are like, wow, I never really thought of that specific thing, and it makes a lot of sense. So
cool.
Great points. I guess. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. We could go ahead for the quick Q&A part and then close it up.
Cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, people in chat, if you guys want to ask any questions, we have officially reached the Q&A zone. Two dads Q&A. Let's start.
Come on, this is when you're supposed to use voice mod.
I know.
Welcome to the Q&A section of the podcast. Please ask your questions in the chat for us. Address whoever you like. Thank you.
There we go. All right. So questions in chat. We also have a Discord if you guys want to ask in there.
Oh, I got one. ALTInsider, if you were to run a game, what game would you run? I would say it would. Okay, if I can choose any game, it would be one of the top. I mean, I'm talking. I think Super Metroid would be the one I would run, which would probably require the most time to get good at, or one of the most times to get good at.
Yep.
I just love that game because every single move is calculated. There's a right way to do every single room, and it never changes. And that's what I think. I respect the people that can do. I respect the fuck out of those runners. I mean, the top tier guys it's magic to watch them. Symphony in action. Same with Mario 64, by the way, too. It's same. All your movements. There's a right way to do every single stage, and the people that can do it the right way, it's awesome. So that's my choice. Super Metroid.
That's a good choice. Actually, to touch on that, I mean, I've watched tons of Super Metroid recently because, well, GSA has a Super Metroid tournament going on, and I realized that it's very, very similar to Super Mario 64, actually, because Super Mario 64 is like an instance where you're playing 100%, and you're doing a star, and then it's a 15 second break after a star, and then it cycles. And this game is it's a lot of the same thing. You enter a room, 10 seconds of gameplay, you enter another room, there's a pause for a few seconds. So you reset your mind. And then you do another room again, another pause, another room again. Very, very similar, and the same exact style, I think, when it comes to speedrunning basics, speedrunning, what's the word?
Fundamentals?
Yeah, fundamentals. It's a good game.
All right, good question. ALTInsider, do you think significant prize pool affects legitimacy of a competitive event, or if not legitimacy, how much of it does it matter as a viewer? I think less than people think. I think that the number is not that big a deal, because unless you get to 100,000, right? And that's where that'll get news stories on Kotaku, right? Is you get $100,000 prize for that. So we can't get there. I mean, right now. So I think anything in the 1,000 is still a big deal, right? 5,000 is a big deal. 10,000 is a huge deal, right? I think anything once you get to 4 digits, it's a major thing for me. And I know some people might say, "Well, esport, Dota gave out 4 million or whatever. Fortnite gives out 4 million." You can't compare. You can't compare like that. It's not. It's irrelevant to even think about that, right? So just once you get to the 4 digits, I think that's a significant amount that people will work towards and be hyped as shit to win. You know what I mean?
Well put.
I was actually thinking that same thing too while you were answering the question. I actually think 100,000. I don't know if you're being. I think you're just shooting numbers, but I think 100,000 is a little bit drastic. I think not even that far. Like $5,000-$10,000 would be kind of like wow, especially for the fact that speedrunning that never had prize pools that even reached like 5,000. Well, other than the Twitch Rivals event recently. But,
I was talking about like in terms of like getting outside media to cover it. I mean, for real for speedrunning terms, all that is great. I mean, I'm talking about like for Kotaku to pick up an article about it, like that level of media coverage, it would probably take something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Next question. Do you think what does ALT consider to be a decent sized prize pool for speedrunning tourneys? As in, what does the size of money? We already answered that, right?
Similar question. Yeah.
Another way to put it. I guess. It's not. I don't think it's good to think about it in this way. Like, I think that's not the goal. Should not be how much money can we get into prize pool. I think make it a good event would be the first deal. Put your money in the big event first, right? Like all the ideas I put out for that event, they all take money. So make sure the event is hype, and then see how much is left, and hopefully there's at least 4 digits of something there. Like the $25,000 prize that we just put out for the Twitch Rivals. I think that's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of money though. I mean, there's no doubt. Sinister would not confirm it or deny it on my podcast when I interview about it, but there's no doubt that Capcom had a hand in that. I mean, there's no way. Twitch is not putting $25,000 to have how many viewers are there? 7,000, something like that. That's not gonna happen, guys. That's not gonna happen, boys. So it'll take that kind of 25,000 huge prize pool. I mean, so it'll take that kind of big sponsorship, and maybe at this future event we have to do a indie game that's hype, and the developers want to give you money to do it. That'd be fine.
Right.
That'll get it bigger, right? Z, this one's for Simply, I think. She didn't say anybody, but I'm going to throw it to you, Sim. Why are there so few female speedrunners? Go!
Well, I mean, I think that it's just like gaming in general is male dominated, and so that also ends up seeping into speedrunning, of course, because speedrunning is video games, but you do have female speedrunners, of course, and they do seem to be growing. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple answer. Pretty simple answer. I have seen girls in the past talk about the slight form of neglect, I guess you would say, towards female speedrunners, or not neglect, but just like, I guess, banter, in a sense that people make jokes when there's a female speedrunner. It's much more prominent than just making jokes about other speedrunners. When there's a girl that speedruns a game, there's always attention to her, and I have a lot of experience with it, seeing it in a bunch of different communities, and I feel for the girls, because it's hard in a male dominant community like gaming. It's going to be hard for the girls to just slide in without being talked about a lot, being hopefully not, but some cases harassed in some way, and it sucks. And I think it goes the same for a female-dominated community. For a male to get into it, they might experience the same thing. And that's just how it works, unfortunately. But we're saying that, yeah, I agree with Simply. I've seen a lot more girls coming out, started speedrunning, and actually getting pretty good too, which is that'd be great, dude.
Yeah, just
go on.
it's just the fact of, like, you know, just like you said, it's so male dominated now. It's, you got to be kind of like brave almost to be a female and say, I want to do speedrunning, I want to get my, you know, and you know how guys are assholes, right? On the internet.
Yeah.
If you go on Twitch stream, there's guys like, oh, she's a titty streamer. She's she's wearing a sweater, and guys will still say that, right? So I mean, it's a tough world out there on the internet. And that's the way it is, you know.
Even Twitch in general is mostly male dominated.
You know,
yeah,
it's just internet is stupid, right? Not you guys, chat. You guys are hot though.
Yeah, you guys are dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Well, I think that's pretty solid. We got a good amount of content going. What do you think, Cheese?
Yeah, no, I agree. That was again another enjoyable episode. Every time we have an episode, I keep saying it's my favorite episode. But I was excited to have ALT on because I know that he has views that aren't common, but are very helpful. So I think you portrayed them in a very, very interesting way today. So I loved having you.
A lot of fun, guys. Yeah. Let's hope to do it again in the future one day. And hope to be interviewing you at that future event we were talking about earlier.
Yes. Only can hope.
Thanks very much. It was an absolute pleasure. The insight was unbelievable. Definitely check out his podcast. We've all been on it. It's amazing. This guy is a legend. MyInsanePace.com. And check out the Discord too for some interesting discussions. And yeah, thank you guys very much for listening. This will, of course, be put up on YouTube and then on the Android and Apple podcast apps. We need to get a website, man. You got the website going. That's so nice.
You got to get it.
We got a website yet. We'll get there. twodads.com, something. Maybe we'll just something silly. Well, thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Don't forget to check YouTube. This episode will be uploaded to YouTube by tomorrow. So I'll be posted. I'll probably tweet about it too. So if you missed the first half, second half, or whatever, you know, you can see the full episode on YouTube. And yeah, thank you, everybody. See you later. Thank you for watching.
Bye. Bye-bye.